Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to today's session. How are you doing? I pray that all is well with you and your families at this time. So today we going over for the next 2 days the summary of the 10th chapter, because we definitely will never be able to finish it in just 2 days. And it's the end part of the story. After Krishna was tied, what happened? And we've been touching on it, where the benediction was given by Narada to these two boys, misbehaving boys. So these two boys, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, the sons of Kuvera. Let's see what had happened to them as we read through the summary of this 10th chapter of the 10th canto. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, The Deliverance of Yamal Arjun Trees. Summary. This chapter describes how Krishna broke the twin Arjun trees from which Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, the sons of Kuvera, then came out. So we know that they were misbehaving and they were cursed by Narada to be trees, but not ordinary trees. They were born in the courtyard of Nanda Baba. We were also telling the story of Prabhupada praying for those trees there at Bhaktivedanta Manor just before the storm. So we never know when they can be these special entities. Even in Krishna Balaram temple, if you see Krishna Balaram temple, it's one of the only temples in the world that has a tree in the courtyard. You've seen that tamal tree in the courtyard of Krishna Balaram temple. So Prabhupada had given the order, don't cut that tree down. When they were building the temple, they had to excavate the land. So that one tree, Prabhupada said, don't cut it down, because tamal tree is Krishna and Kadamba tree is Srimati Radharani. And if you see where the tamal tree is, it's straight off the Radhesham altar. Prabhupada told the devotees that Radha Krishna gather under this tree in the evenings and at night for pastimes. So don't cut this tree down. We see even at Radha Kund, there's that tree that spoke many of the pastimes to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur at Radha Kund. So we're hearing many pastimes of these special trees. So these two trees that were there in Nanda Baba's courtyard were very special as well. What Krishna proceeded to do is that he's tied, and this grinding mortar he's tied up to this grinding mortar with all the rope they could find in the village. So he's really tied up to this. So he decides to move and move this way, this way, this way. And eventually he drops the mortar down. And then by dropping it, now he can roll it, because it's cylindrical. So he can roll it, he can move it. So Krishna starts to crawl. And that's that famous picture of Damodar where he's crawling. So Krishna starts to crawl, and as he has already noticed these two trees, in terms of Damodar Leela, he's thinking, maybe I can free myself from this. And the one who is all free, the one who is the source of everything, is bound, and he's trying to free himself. So he brings this grinding mortar, as we were describing, from Gokul, from the upper part of Gokul, down to Utkal Bandhan, to the place where the Damodar Leela took place. So he crawled all the way down. And as he came in between these two trees, the Acharyas tell us it was almost effortless. And yet we did describe how strong the root structure of the Arjun trees are. So it's a very strong tree. Actually, in the place at the current time, in Utkal Bandhan, there is one small tree that's growing there, just where you take darshan, where the Utkal is, and where the basket of Vasudev, where he brought baby Krishna across the Yamuna from Mathura. So that basket they also have there. So both of those, just in front of that darshan area, there is some trees growing there, and one of the small trees there is an Arjun tree. They actually planted one, but this was many years back, and when we were there recently, we see it hasn't really grown very much. So I don't know how many years it takes to grow, but they definitely have one there. Here in Mayapur also, we have quite a big one. If you know where just in front of the Gurukul, from the road side, from the main entrance of the Gurukul, if you're going into the Gurukul, there's a lots of trees on either side. So just in front of the Gurukul, there's one of these Arjun trees there. One of the devotees pointed it out to me. So I was very happy to see it in a fully grown tree. So Krishna now is jammed the grinding mortar in between these two trees, and he's moving. So he's not really using like force, like a tug of war. He's just moving. To him, he is just trying to get free. So he effortlessly pulls these two trees, and they come crashing down with a huge sound. And you know, Krishna is the drama king. He will use any pastime, any moment to have deep interaction with his devotees. So he made a big drama by pushing these two trees down. And when these two trees dropped, then these two entities came out, Nalakuvera and Manigriva. So let's see as we catch it from there. Nalakuvera and Manigriva were great devotees of Lord Shiva. So we see this in India, especially if you travel through India. There's many beautiful, beautiful temples of Lord Shiva. Almost wherever there's a Vishnu temple, there's going to be a Lord Shiva temple nearby. But one of the things they tell you, that when you take darshan of Bolinath, Lord Shiva, bam bam bole, you'll hear them shouting all over the place. Then you must know that's a Shiva Bhakta. And of course also they do the they also have that bad habit. You'll also see that, because they say, oh, we're following, our God does like that. So the Brajbasis, sometimes I would tease those Brajbasi boys in Vrindavan and say, hey, why they say that, your Brajbasi are always stealing like that? So one of the boys told me one time, he says, because our God is like that. Krishna is doing, we do same. So same with these, they smoke it up, because marijuana is free everywhere. You can you see it growing all over the place, especially Himalayas, and especially in those Himalaya areas there, those sadhus there, so it's not a habit we advise. It's not a habit we advise. We advise in pure devotional service. Krishna is that's what he's advocating. So all over the place you see this. So these devotees of Lord Shiva, they're always, one of the bad habits that they have is this. So one of the things they'll tell you if you go to a Shiva temple is that you come and pray. Lord Shiva is Ashutosh, very easily pleased. We see some of his other devotees, Vrikasur, Ravana, that Ravana was able to have his whole city of gold, Egoli, whole city of gold. We have our Egoli in South Africa, Johannesburg. But Ravana also had his Egoli, city of gold, Sri Lanka. So Lord Shiva was benedicting him. Vrikasur, Lord Shiva benedicted him. So he's very easily pleased, but he's also very easily angered. And the benedictions he gives are all relevant only to this material world. Unless you ask him as a Vaishnava, give Krishna Bhakti. Help me to, I'm remembering that one devotee from Fiji, Tamal Krishna Maharaj's disciple, he was saying he had a dream that after watching that movie called Gods and Demigods, so a very powerful movie by Tamal Krishna Maharaj, where he establishing Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead amongst all the devatas, Aham Adi Devanam. Krishna is saying, I am the Adi Dev, the original God. So that devotee, after watching that, he had a dream that night because he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva told him, go and take shelter of this sadhu and he'll guide you on your path of devotion. So Lord Shiva does that also. We see he is the guardian of all the dhams as well. Dameshwar Mahadev, Chakleshwar Mahadev, Gopishwar Mahadev in Vrindavan. We have so many, all of them. They are all great personalities. But when you go to a Shiva temple in India, they'll tell you, you come and pray, yes, give all your donation and everything, but don't take one grain of dust out of this temple. Don't dust your pants, you offer pranam, everything, but when you're going out, dust your clothes. Don't take any dust out of this temple, because if you do that, your material life will be ruined. So this is the nature of Lord Shiva. He's also a Vaishnava. So he wants you to also come to the right path. He also wants you to understand what is pure devotion, like Mother Yashoda is showing to Krishna. So he's not going to just fool you with trinkets and blessings of material desires. He's ultimately going to give you the pure thing if you desire it. So he cheats by being kind, just like Narada Muni has done here to these two boys, Nada Kuvera and Manigriva. Lord Shiva does the same thing. And these Mahajans, all of them, they're all shastrically inclined. There are 12 Mahajans. So Lord Shiva, he is very easily pleased, Ashutosh, but he's also very easily angered. So we got to be careful of such a person because he's very volatile. 1 minute he's like this, 1 minute he can be like that. And but when it comes to bhakti, he's very soft-hearted and he's ready and willing to guide, just like he did to the Prachetas in the 5th canto, where he guided the Prachetas to go back to the spiritual world. So he also has that nature. So these boys are also devotees of Lord Shiva. So they got a lot of material opulence. That's why you see in the material world, people very quickly worship Lord Shiva for material things. But they don't know his other nature. And they don't know how that he actually intends for you for spiritual advancement. But he's giving you these things just to attract you towards him. And then once you understand what is pure bhakti, he guides you towards the spiritual path. So that's why he takes away things as easily as he gives it as well. So that's disappointment. So if you're a devotee of Lord Shiva, you're going to also have to be a devotee of disappointment, because very quickly he'll take away just as much as he gave you. Why he does this? Because he wants you to understand the duality of this world, the temporary nature of this world, and he wants you to follow the spiritual path, the journey back home, back to Godhead. He doesn't want you, otherwise he'll be facilitating your stay here. So as a spiritual personality, how has he helped you? Just by giving all the material blessings. So he also has that deep desire. He has his own sampradaya, Rudra sampradaya, in which he teaches people there, go back to Godhead this way, follow the path of bhakti. So let's see what happened to these boys. But because of material opulence, they became so extravagant and senseless that one day they were enjoying with naked girls in a lake and shamelessly walking here and there. So we see this happens, that when people are very rich, very opulent, they become very proud. They start to see themselves better than everyone else, not realizing that everyone is born the same way. Without any clothes, without knowing ABC, 1, 2, 3, everybody is born the same way. But by their karmic activity, this is why it's difficult to appreciate the philosophy that's there in the Bible, that if God loves everyone and is equal to everyone, then why some children are born handicapped, crippled, deformed, and some children are born like this with the golden spoon in their mouth? Who has decided that that child gets crippled and that this child gets all the opulence? How is God equal then? There must be some reason behind. If God is a reasonable entity, and there's reason behind creation, there's reason behind everything. There's mathematics in the world means there's reason. If there's reason, then what is the reason that that child is born crippled and this child is not? This child is born with all opulence? There must be some previous life. Otherwise, how do you understand this? That child has done some really bad activity in the past life, so he's getting that reaction. And this child has done very good activity, he's getting that reaction. That's the only way to understand it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, the philosophy. So, it goes on to say, suddenly Narada Muni passed by, but they were so maddened by their wealth and false prestige that even though they saw Narada Muni present, they remained naked and were not even ashamed. So this is what can happen. One becomes so intoxicated with the body. One becomes so shameless by the body intoxication that one doesn't even care that there's a sadhu standing here. There's a sadhu that's come past here and I'm not even acknowledging. This is how one can become bewildered. So one has to become very careful, especially when devotees visits one home. It's not an ordinary thing when devotees visits your house, because you don't know what blessings they're bringing on their lotus feet. They are walking through your home, they are coming to your home. What blessings they are bringing. They are chanting, praying, living in the temple. They are chanting Krishna's name, they are taking prasadam. How can they be ordinary people? And they are walking into your home. What blessings are they bringing? There's that famous story of Hanuman, who was very mischievous, and he interfered with all the sadhus. So one day he stole Narada Muni, this same Narada Muni. One day he stole his veena, and he was running around inside, outside the hermitage, inside, this way, that way, through all the house, this room, that room, and Narada was running behind him. So Hanuman was making big mischief. Eventually Narada caught him and he said, "Why you did this? You're so naughty, monkey." He says, "No, I did this, my lord, because I wanted your footsteps in every room of my house." This is Hanuman, how he was praying. This story is told. So we don't realize the greatness of meeting a sadhu. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sastra Koi, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoi. Just a moment with a devotee can change your life. I remember the first day I saw one of the Hare Krishna devotees who came home, and I was so delighted that, it was Satbuj Prabhu. He was a Russian devotee. He was staying at the temple at that time. And he had come home selling agrabatis and books, and I was so happy. And as we were talking, he was saying, it's difficult for him with spices and things. So I went in the kitchen and found everything that we could find tinned. We had tinned baked beans, tinned butter beans, we had tinned fruit salad. I just packed it together and gave it to him. And, as he was leaving, I managed to touch his shoes, and I didn't do this with any intention at that time. It was a spontaneous thing, just to get a saintly person's blessings. And look what happened to me today. So I always attribute that to Satbuj Prabhu, those who know him from the earlier years, that he was a very unassuming. He actually passed away in a car accident while they were going for a Namahata program down the south coast. So I actually didn't do it with any intention that, God bless me now, I touched your devotee's lotus feet. I just did it because it felt good. And by serving him just in that simple way, my fortune was created. And today I'm able to practice Krishna consciousness as a full-time devotee. So I'm very grateful to him. And I know the blessings that can come from very ordinary devotees. They doesn't have to be saffron devotees. They don't have to be full-time devotees. They can even be grihastha devotees. But if there's sincerity, genuineness in the heart, And if they bless, there's a lot of life-changing situations that can come for your benefit, for your auspiciousness. So we'll stop there, because we'll continue tomorrow on this post part of the story of Nalakuvera and Manigriva. So I hope you enjoy your day today. Please join us tomorrow and one more day after that for the Kartik Month Special. Hare Krishna.